we have someone here to sort it out for us, a great friend of mine, Don Jr., and the president, here to react to this and much more. Founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, top economist, Steve Moore. Steve, thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Hey, Kimberly, great to be with you, and thank you so much for those kind words.
Absolutely. Well, they're well-deserved. So I want to go over this thing because it's stressing me out. People are texting me, they're calling me, like, what do we do? What is going on with Biden? What's going on with the Fed and Jerome Powell? They're beginning to think like Elizabeth Warren's making sense. But, he issued the first veto of his presidency in order to allow pensions to be invested in ESG funds. What kind of impact is this going to have on everyday Americans, if you can break it down for the folks at home?
Well, let's just start, Kimberly, with the big picture, because I'm just so frustrated. We wouldn't be talking about all of these economic problems that you just mentioned, the runaway inflation, the problems at the border, the fact that we're, not producing enough energy in this country. And there wouldn't be talk of a recession. There wouldn't be talk about bank failures if Donald Trump was still president. I mean, you know that. I think most people know that. And in fact, I would make the case to you that the economy would be absolutely booming right now. And I want to make sure that your listeners and viewers understand, and I think they probably do, that it is just a fat lie when Joe Biden says he took over an economy that was in collapse. No, he didn't. The economy in the last 6 months that Trump was president grew by 11%. We were just, all the businesses were reopening from COVID. We had the vaccine coming out thanks to Trump's Operation Warp Speed. People forget about the importance of that in terms of getting our businesses and our workers back. And so I want people to understand that there's no reason that we should be facing all these economic problems that we have today. We should be sailing along at a very fast pace. So I think that, let's face it, the American voters made a big mistake in 2020, and hopefully that will be corrected. Now, Biden issued, you're right, Kimberly, Biden issued his first veto, and that veto is going to be very hard for him to defend, because what he's basically said is we're going to reverse 100 years of standard practice in America, which is if you invest your money, your pension money or your retirement money in an investment house, Kimberly, they have what's called a fiduciary duty. A fiduciary duty to get the best return on your money. If you put your money in an account, or I do, we don't want them to play politics with that. We just want to get a good return so we can retire with a nest egg. So I want people to understand, ESG is just a tax on your pensions and your lifetime savings. And, for rich people, that might not be such a big burden. But if you're a middle class person who, say, a blue collar worker, and you've worked your whole life so you can have a nice retirement, and then they're playing games.
It's a big deal. It's very serious. It is a big deal. And that's like the base out there, the forgotten men and women that were left behind and taken for granted, quite frankly, by both parties, the people that benefited the most under President Trump. Now Biden is pinning, the tail on them to say, okay, now we're going to go ahead and just disregard people who've worked so hard, who really need that money. And this is putting them in a perilous position.
It is. So I call this putting politics ahead of pensions. And I think it's a violation of all the rules about how pensions are run. And the Congress, the Republican Congress, with Democratic support, Kimberly, said, no, you can't use ESG. And ESG is just, climate change, racial equity, all these other things. Those might be fine. But, if you want to invest in that, make your own decision to do it. I don't want people making those decisions for me. And so the evidence is very clear over the last several years that these ESG investments in things like solar panels and wind and this company and that company, because they have diversity and they have LGBTQ policies and they have transgender bathrooms, those policies, those investment funds do significantly worse for your money. In other words, you're getting a lower return. And do you know, Kimberly, what industry had the top return in 2022?
Nope, that's why you're here.
The oil and gas industry. Okay. And guess what? The ESG
funds. I could have guessed that.
They sold them. So they sold the stocks that did the best. And so people are angry about this. I got to tell you, Kimberly, I do a lot of radio and TV and shows like yours.
And you write a lot of very good opinion pieces, too, about this.
They're mad because they know that They know that this is reducing, instead, well, person wants to maybe buy a little house in Arizona or Florida when they retire.
Oh.
Now they may not have the money to do it.
Yeah, this is the problem. It's just so, it shows such a disdain and a total disregard for actually the hardworking folks out there, for what we really need to be paying attention to as this big whole chunk of this country that is like right there in the center, and you're going to put total disarray and instability and throw it in. I mean, it throws a wrench in everything, and it is completely disruptive, to commerce, to the economy. It just, it feeds the whole like recession situation. But people are getting it, and that's why elections matter, votes matter. People got to get it right, because we've seen the difference. Don't say that, oh, Joe Biden was going to be a moderate, he was going to do this and that, and everything was going to be fine. He was going to stabilize everything, do a good job with the economy. He has not. He has not done so, and this budget is very, problematic. What other things are bothering you right now about that?
Well, everything you said is correct. And, you don't have to take your word for it or my word for it. Just look at the most recent polls. I saw one just a day or two ago, and these numbers jump around a little bit, but not a lot. It was something like almost 80% of Americans rate the economy as poor or, bad. And by the way, those numbers are completely flip reverse to where they were under Trump for most of his presidency. People, 2/3 to 3/4 of Americans rated the economy as good or great under Trump. Now they're rating it bad or fair under Biden. And so Americans aren't feeling the love for this economy. Biden's running around the country now with this crazy invest in America idea. Yeah, I'm all for investing in America, but why don't you remove the obstacles from doing it? Why do you call for, as you just said, a $4 trillion tax increase on investment? There's an old saying in economics, which is not that complicated. If you want more of something, you tax it less. And if you want less of something, you tax it more. So why would he call for all these? He wants to raise the capital gains tax, the corporate tax, the small business tax. He wants to tax unrealized capital gains. That means if you made $50,000 on a stock and you haven't even sold it, he wants to tax you on it.
You know how insane that is?
Well, the people are going to get the money to pay the tax.
It's like phantom money that you don't even have, that you haven't even made a decision about, and he's trying to penalize you for a potential future financial decision. Insane.
We've never done that before in this country. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, you have to laugh or you cry. I mean, it's just nuts.
Yeah. So if I sound a little frustrated, I am, because these policies are so contrary to where we should be in this country. I didn't agree with everything Donald Trump did, but I always knew that everything he was trying to do was to put America first.
Right, for the right reasons.
Interest the best.
For the right
I used to, go into the Oval Office. I like Trump because you could argue with him.
You enjoy it. Yeah, exactly.
But he always, even when I
But he
disagree,
listens. He likes you to go in and tell him and present your opinion.
Yes.
And I'll say this about him. He is somebody that will change his mind to do the right thing, but you have to make a compelling case, and he'll take a look at it. It's not like he goes, I'm set in stone, and he leaves it that way.
Something else that's really important, Kimberly, our Committee on Unleashed Prosperity did this that came out several months ago, where we looked at the top 80 officials in the Biden administration, starting with the president and the vice president and his cabinet. And we found that the most of those people have 0 years of business experience.
That's
none,
amazing. What qualifications?
So contrast that with Donald Trump, who was a businessman, and so many of the people he surrounded himself were people who knew how to build a business and how to create things. And so I think that makes a lot of difference, because when Joe Biden says, oh, just tax these companies, regulate them, these people couldn't run a lemonade stand.
Honey, he's a failed career politician, okay? That's all, 50 years of just, sucking the money out of the taxpayers for his job. I mean, think about it. Would you ever hire someone as a CEO, of a corporation, a business that didn't have any business experience? Yet you put someone like that in the White House making economic decisions that are going to affect millions and millions of people. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm curious because we've talked about all these different, economic theories, whether it's in the past, Reaganomics, this, that, supply side, like all of that, laissez-faire economics, this and that, trickle down, a lot of stuff. So people say to me, what is the economic ideology driving Biden's economic decisions? Like, is there even an ideology or a viewpoint that is helping to shape this?
Yeah, it's greed and envy. So instead of building up
Tearing down.
businesses and helping them grow. It's all about redistribution. It's like, Kimberly, you have money, so we're going to take it away from you and give it to somebody else.
Right.
Where has that, where is that economic? It's a socialist kind of mindset that, the way to lift people up is just give them money. No, you give them opportunity. This is the land of opportunity.
And we know that doesn't work. Look throughout history in the countries that are
Exactly.
founded on socialism. They're really crushing it. I mean, it's just sad though. But a lot of damage has been done. But I'm optimistic that people really get it. They'll show up. At the polls, and that we have to win races. We've got to like now we're controlling Congress, but you got to control the Senate, and you've got to control the White House. You really do, in order to be able to achieve these results. I think you did a nice job of contrasting what the Trump economic plan was versus what the Biden plan is based on. But where do you see us going? I hate to use the R word, but people are really concerned, the folks at home, about recession or what they should be doing, with their money. Do you have some comforting advice for them after we've driven everyone off a cliff, me included?
I'll just say that, look, if I knew if I knew we were going to have a recession or where the stock market was going, I'd be a real rich person. But I will say this, that I believe that if we stay on the course that we're on under Biden, and if we were to enact anything like his absurd, crazy, lunatic budget, we will face a financial crisis in this country. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen in 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years, but it is coming. Because as you just said, Kimberly, show me anywhere in the world where what we're doing is this idea that we can just print money and spend it. This is called modern monetary theory. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it's the idea that all we have to do is borrow and spend and drop $100 bills out of helicopter windows. And that, I call that the Venezuela, Argentina, Bolivia, and Mexico model of economic development. It always lands in a crash landing situation. So we are, and by the way, what I'm saying is obvious, right? Everyone knows what we're doing.
But they're still
you can't borrow $2 trillion a year after year after year. If you just went out and ran up your credit card month after month after month after month, that's not going to have a happy ending.
Nope, it sure isn't. Anybody will know that out there. There has to be, we've got to get this in check and really rein it in. And we need to continue to get people in that actually understand the economy and basic economics, and aren't going to put us in this spending, tax and spend, free for all. But, it's problematic. Well, I have to encourage you, keep doing the great work that you're doing, and, with your committee to unleash prosperity, and also with your great opinion pieces. So we look forward to having you on this show a lot, Steve Moore. You make a lot of sense. I'm glad you're my friend.
Well, thanks, Kimberly. And, we're working with people like Larry Kudlow and Arthur Laffer and others who helped Donald Trump build the best economy ever. We can do it again.
We'll get them back. We got to get the boys back, okay? All right, Steve, be well. Thank you, my friend.
Good, thank you.